Survivors, seekers, and thrivers, welcome to Transcending Trauma, a spiritual odyssey. I'm Shari Lee Roberts, living proof that transformation is real. Get ready for powerful insights, inspiring stories, and a little laughter along the way.
Welcome all today. I have an incredible treat for you. A man who, though I think was born and raised on a different continent, shares an incredible story parallel to mine. Welcome, Liam Naden. Thank you for coming on, taking time to get real and to share your story. Why don't you tell us a bit about your younger days, where you came from?
Okay, well, thank you, Shari, for having me on your show. It's a real honour to be here. My early days, and I'm very glad and appreciative you said my younger days. So that's thank you for that. Anyway, so I don't know if you picked up from my accent. I was born in New Zealand, but I haven't lived in New Zealand for quite some time. In fact, for the last 14 odd years, I've been a nomad, just traveling around the world, basically, most of the time living on my own yacht. And in the last 10 years, 12, 13 years, I've lived on 2 motorhomes and 4 yachts. So I'm currently on yacht number 4 and currently in Europe, which is where we do our sailing. So, but my life, probably like yours, has been a checkered career of ups and downs, if you like, and real highs and real lows. But I've always been driven by this idea, and I'm sure maybe your viewers or your listeners can relate to this, is I've always wanted to have a great life. I've always wanted to be the best that I could be, really have an exciting, adventurous, fulfilling life and find out, if I could, what's this all about? What is life all about? So I've always been on this mission and this quest to be the best person I could be. And I did pretty well. I had my own businesses after I left university, and I've had 18 different businesses. And I've also always been a student of success, if you like. So I've always been like a seminar junkie. And I used to go to all the seminars I could and read books, every book that I could find, and do courses on everything from self-help and goal setting and personal development and peak performance and, things like how to change your beliefs, how to change your subconscious mind, and also the whole spiritual area as well. I meditated, did lots of spiritual practices and courses, and things were going pretty well in my life, I thought. I was in my mid-40s and was a millionaire and doing really well. But then something happened really unexpectedly, something quite tragic, something very traumatic, actually. And I think what punctuates our life, or what determines our life, and I'm sure you'll relate to this, are these things that happen to us seemingly out of the blue, and things that were never on a goals list, things that we never would have wanted, and things that were really traumatic. But in a strange sort of way, they're the things that define our lives. And I can definitely say I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, and I wouldn't be sharing the information that I've learnt about how life really is designed to work if I hadn't been through this really traumatic experience. And that was, well, one of the traumatic experiences, but this was the most traumatic, was I went from being this really successful millionaire and having beautiful home, multiple businesses, lots of freedom. And I went from that to losing everything, becoming homeless. And it all happened really fast, literally within a few weeks. But that was a turning point.
Okay, but tell us what parent did they give us the deity tales they are 2 week period.
Well, the funny thing is, sometimes these things happen to us, and at the time we can't really figure out why they happened. And so for me, I could look back on it, and in fact, when I was homeless, had nothing, I had to move back in with my elderly mother, sleep on the sofa in the living room of her small apartment. And that question really bugged me, the one you were asking. Why did this happen to me? How did it happen? Because, I'd spent a lot of years trying to ensure that that never happened. I tried to build up my wealth. I worked really hard for decades to ensure that I never ran out of money. I never had no money. And I also did all of those things that we're taught to do to be successful, have beliefs, have goals, visualize, meditate, get on the same wavelength as the things that you want. So I had all of these tools, but it was never on my goals list to lose everything. So on a practical level, I could say, how did it happen? It was really a series of bad decisions that came up, that in the end came to bite me. Bad relationship decisions, being with the wrong people, the wrong person, both personally and in business. And also, as I said, wrong financial, wrong business decisions. And here's the thing that I discovered or really learned about what we tend to do. We tend to make decisions and do things when there's a little voice inside us that says, you shouldn't do this. This is the wrong person. This is the wrong thing to do. And what we do is we shut out that voice and we say, no, I'm going to make it happen. Nothing's perfect. I'll make it work. I can do it. I can do anything. I've got it on my goals list. So we do these things out of fear. We're afraid that if we don't marry that person or set up that business or employ that person or take that job or do whatever it is, agree to doing whatever it is, we're afraid that if we don't do that, that bad things are going to happen to us. So it's a little bit like we say to ourselves, well, that's the best there is at the moment, so I'll just do it and I'll make it work, as I said. So when we have that mindset, that's when all of the things go wrong in our life. And if we're lucky, which is what happened to me, it all falls apart. So then you have to unravel it and pull it all back together. And the way I did that was I treated life in a completely different way. Instead of trying to force things to happen, instead of trying to get life to bend to my will and to give me what I thought I wanted, which, we all have this idea we have to know what we want. We don't know what we want. We'll never know what we want. We can only get life to show us what it is we need to be our best. So when you have a life like I did, based on all these fears that you need to do something, you need to force things to happen, that's when everything goes wrong. We don't realize that there's a part of us that knows what we need, knows what we want, and knows what we should have, and knows how to get it for us. So we need to allow that part to take over. And this is all biology. This is not particularly spiritual. It's biological. When we allow that part to take over, that's when we can actually enjoy life. That's what happened to me after I unraveled all the mess. But we can see from that, and if people are listening and thinking about things that are happening in their life, are you trying to force something to happen? Are you acting out of fear? Are you saying, I need this to happen in my life for me to be happy, and I'm going to make sure it does? Or do you perhaps think there's something else that might actually support you to get somewhere where you don't know where, but would end up actually being a better place?
And more simply put, I am now that my life directed me. I didn't direct it. So my life just had me on their career path and treadmill friends, family, carrying it all forward. Then, when it all fell apart, yes, that is when the beauty happens. We can finally take back control and live intentionally. So, when you lost everything, you were homeless by choice. Talk about that. That is really powerful.
You mean about being homeless?
You get
Is that what? Yeah.
saying to be why? What did you learn? And what was the reason you wanted to go that route?
Are you talking about now being nomadic or back when I first became homeless?
Back when you lost everything. You chose to be homeless.
Well, I didn't feel that I had much choice at the time because I had nowhere else to go. I'd lost my home as well as all my businesses, all my money. But what I didn't realize when I moved in with my elderly mother, I wrestled with this for so long. I was there for a few weeks, a few months actually. And I wrestled with the confusion as to why had it happened to me. And I had these two questions that kept coming up in my mind every night. And I used every idea, technique, method, process that I thought that I'd learned through all my years of studying spirituality and self-help and all of these things, and my own practical applications as well. I tried to figure out the answer to these two questions. The first one was, and I mentioned this earlier, why has this happened to me? Because it shouldn't have happened to me. I was an expert on success. I was well off. It was not like I just had $100 in the bank. I was a millionaire. I had some financial backing, if you like. So I thought, why has this happened to me? And I also said, I'm not a dishonest person. I'm not lazy. I've worked really hard and been as honest as I could to get there. Why has this happened to me? And the second question that I kept asking was, what do I do now? Because, and as I say, I spent so many hours trying to figure out trying to understand why it had happened to me, because it didn't make any sense.
Oh,
and then, yeah.
Hey, worrying, go back and that you tell us exactly what happened that you went from millionaire to nothing, rather than talking in general terms. Tell us you woke up on a Monday. It was like every other day until bam. What happened?
Well, it was a combination of things, and it's a while ago, so the exact specific details have sort of become a blur, which is a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
But a couple of things. So I decided to leave my marriage, and because it was not working for me in a severe sort of abusive way. That was probably the main catalyst. And from there, the businesses that I had, I was no longer able to control them in the way I had due to the marriage breakup. And there were things about the businesses that weren't going well, and staff left. And I couldn't replace staff. There was a change in the, just lots of little things, really. But I mean, and even the details specifically, I don't feel, I mean, I didn't choose to remember those because
Yeah.
I didn't think they were particularly relevant. It was more about understanding why it had happened to me was important. That's why I kept asking those two questions. And when you're in that situation, you do want to know how you got to how it all happened. And you also want to know if it's something that is way out of your experience, which it was for me. I was in a town where I didn't know anybody and I had no resources. You want to know what you're going to do next, how to figure it out, how to get out of that situation.
Yes. Okay. So you were in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
That's going back to 2007, 2008.
Okay. So everything is gone. Your ex-wife has taken off with everything, and you are at your mother's. You're asking yourself two important questions. Then what happens?
Well, I didn't realize it at the time, and it was something I would never have done if I hadn't reached absolute rock bottom. Because anyone who's been through a traumatic experience will know you get to a point where you do hit rock bottom, and
Yeah.
and all of the things you try and make sense of, you just can't make sense of it. So when I really hit rock bottom, specifically when it was, because it was a moment when I decided, or when I found the answer, if you like, to both of those questions. And that was the turning point. And the answer to both of those questions as to why it had happened to me, that I discovered, and I discovered the answer to what to do next, the answer was the same. And that answer was, I don't know. I have no idea why this has happened to me. I have no idea what to do next. And something really strange happened as a result of that, because from then on, things started to click into place and things started to get better. And what I didn't realize is I was using a different part of my brain. I was, instead of me trying to force things and trying to force answers, I was allowing this innate intelligence we have, which is locked into a part of the brain that is designed to make our life work, if you like. I was tapping into that, and I was actually, instead of trying to force things to happen, as I said, I was allowing things to happen. And I was realizing, or when I realized that I didn't have the answers, I didn't know what to do, then something else took over. And I'm not talking about a God, I'm talking about a biology here that started to make things work in my life. And that's why really I do what I do now, which is help people understand how you do get the results in your life. And they're all to do with your brain function, because I started to get very different results to all of what I'd had before. Things started to start working. really well. And I decided I needed to figure out why things were suddenly working when all of my effort, all of my struggle, all of my learning and, pushing and trying to figure things out and trying to make things happen, why that didn't work. Why all it did was give me a life of stress and struggle and ultimately losing everything. And now things were working, but I wasn't doing the traditional goal setting and, trying to push hard. I wasn't doing any of that. It was like good things were just showing up.
I really to that. I had taken the spiritual healing path, which most often is about manifesting the life that you want. And that didn't work. Seems story is yours. And when I said that and just surrendered, yes, the same results as you. So please share what you learned about that part of our brain. What part is it? And what is its potential?
Well, here's the interesting thing, and I'm very lucky to be a sailor, to live on a yacht, because it's a wonderful way to spend your life in nature. Most of the time, I'm not actually on my yacht at the moment. We're here for a couple of months visiting family. I've left the yacht somewhere else. But most of the time, I live on a yacht. And, when you're sitting on the back of your yacht in an evening at anchor, one of the things I started to notice was something I'd never noticed before, which sounds crazy, and that was nature. I'd never really looked at nature, at the natural world. And when I started to look around at, watching birds flying, or watching fish, or watching animals on the shore, or even just the sky and the wind, what I noticed was nothing is really struggling. Things are just being what they are. Things are being the best at what they are. They're not forcing things to happen. If you see a tree just grows into a tree. It doesn't struggle to grow unless it's planted in the wrong soil or the wrong conditions. But generally, trees are just trees. The same with birds. Birds don't struggle to find food or to live. There's this intelligence throughout the natural world that is so perfect that nothing struggles. And I started to study this and do some research into biology. And what I found was something really interesting, which is that humans, we're the only species on the entire planet where we struggle, where we have problems, where we have stress, where our natural state isn't to simply be the best that we can be and thrive. And I thought, this is so weird. Why is it we have problems and yet all of nature, no other living creature is built on struggle? It's all built on the efficiency of energy, ease of life, if you like, the path of least resistance. So the water doesn't run down a river and get to a rock and try and force its way through. It goes around the rock. Everything's designed to work really well. So I thought, why are we different? Why are humans different? What's different about our brain, perhaps? And, then I did a bit more digging. I found something really interesting. Human beings, our species, has been around for about 300,000 years. We have archaeological records going back that far. And for 97% of that time, we lived exactly like the rest of nature. We didn't have problems. All of the records show we were actually far healthier. All of the diseases that we have today, cancer, diabetes, heart problems, they didn't exist. There's no record of them existing. We were much, much healthier. We were even 5 inches taller than we are. Our brains were larger. We didn't have dental problems. We didn't have bone problems. We lived to a ripe old age, if you take out child mortality, infant mortality, because we didn't have, things to help us stop getting infections or heal us from injury. But the average, if you got past that, people lived into their 70s and they didn't die a horrible death. They just one day died. So we didn't have health problems and we didn't have social problems. There's no evidence of wars. There were no wars. There were the occasional little, argument between people, but no wars. There was no unhappiness and there was no struggle. So I thought, if we live for 97% of our history in a certain way and we live like the rest of nature, that shows that we are like the rest of nature. We have the same biology. We're designed in exactly the same way. But 12,000 years ago, something happened and we went from this thriving life to virtually overnight living completely differently. And that's when all of the diseases showed up. It's when the wars showed up, all of the problems, and people went from living happy lives to struggling and basing their life on problems. That's when it all showed up. And what I found was the only difference, and we're still doing it today, we have exactly the same problems that they had starting 12,000 years ago, for the last 12,000 years. And the only difference that I really discovered was we were using our brain differently. All of a sudden, something caused us, and I know what it is, something caused us to switch the way we used our brain. And when we stopped using our brain naturally, all the problems showed up. So it's actually all we need to do to solve problems in our life is switch back to using the way the brain was designed to be used, which worked for 97% of our history. Because the way we're using it today, we're using it in a way that the brain was never designed for. And that's why we have all these problems in our life.
How we did and should use it.
Well, you know what caused the problem? And this really blew me away when I discovered this. The one difference between the way we used to live when we were thriving and the way we live now was the invention of something very specific, and that was language. Language. And you might think, well, isn't language a good thing? Yes, because for most of our history, we didn't have language. We didn't have words. We didn't describe things. We didn't communicate through words and labels and through stories. What we lived, how we lived, is the way the rest of nature lives. We lived instinctively. And when you think about it, most of the time, when you're in the flow, when you're doing something, when something works in your life, it just happened instinctively. You weren't trying to force it to happen. The bad things show up when you try and react out of fear to something, or you try and figure stuff out. So our brain is actually designed to operate instinctively, not through stories. Because when we started with language, then we started to tell, instead of interacting directly with life and experiencing life directly, we started to tell stories about life. So we started to say, instead of just looking at a tree and seeing it for what it is, we'd say that is a tree. We'd give it a label. And that creates a separation between us and our experience of life. But there's another thing we did which was even worse. We created an imaginary world of something that doesn't exist, and that is the future and the past. We created time, because all those are stories. So we went from saying or feeling instinctively without words, just knowing I am thriving, I am being my best, and my brain will make sure that I respond to my immediate environment to make sure that the right things happen. We went to judging things, and then we went to worrying about things and thinking, well, I might be okay now, but I might not be in the future. So I need to prepare for the future. I need to sacrifice the present moment to prepare for something bad that might happen in the future. And that's when we started to do all these things that's when we started to develop stress and worry and anxiety and things that came out of that, like greed and fear. I've got enough for now for me, but I might not in the future. So I need to take what somebody else has and I'm going to fight them and get what they have, or I'm going to try some way of doing it. So what we don't realize is our brain is not designed to do that. Our brain can cope with the present moment. And if you think about what mindfulness or meditation, they all teach this in a different way, but this is the science behind it. Our brain is designed to cope perfectly with the present moment, to get you to respond instinctively to doing the right thing in the present moment. But if you go to give it a whole lot of stories about different moments that all exist at the same time, about things that might go wrong, because your brain doesn't have a concept of time, because time doesn't exist. There's only the now. But if you're going to create these imaginary projections of stories, it only sees them all happening now. So it keeps you in a state of thinking you have all these problems that you have to deal with in your life all of the time, things you have to, dangers that you have to worry about, and none of them are real. The idea that you might not have enough money next year or next month, so therefore you have to save, your brain thinks you don't have enough money now, but it's not real. You do have enough money now, or you do have what you have now. So what we need to do is we need to stop these stories that are going on in our head, and this is what I teach. We need to realize that your brain can deal with the present moment perfectly, but it can't deal with anything else. And that's what I did when, and that's what's called letting go, is giving up the stories. That's what I did on my mother's sofa. I didn't say those words, but I give up telling myself about what's going to happen or what hasn't happened or what should have happened or what, I'm going to stop the stories and just allow my instincts to take over and make sure that the right things happen. That's the way we're biologically designed. That's the way we lived for 97% of our history. And we absolutely had an amazing existence. And that's what we need to get back to.
Well, do you how others do that? I mean, it's easy to say, do this, do that. I did it, but if you're like me, I need to know how you did it. Now, I did get to where you were. It took a completely different path. So, share the house for people who are now like heavily in that study in your story and implementing this for themselves.
Well, how do you do this? It's very, very simple. But doing it is very difficult because we've had a lifetime of learning different habits. We've had a lifetime of using our brain the wrong way. And we have all of these ideas about the way life is, and we have to work hard, we have to struggle, that problems are natural, problems are inevitable, problems are good for you, everybody has problems. We've got all these beliefs that we have to overcome. So it's a little bit like, an analogy is if somebody was overweight and they came, say if you're overweight and you think, I want to lose weight, I'll go to a nutritionist or an expert on how to lose weight. Somebody tells you, I can tell you exactly what you need to do to lose weight. And you go to them, what are they going to say? They're going to say, it's so simple. You just stop eating the wrong foods, you eat the right foods, and you do a bit of exercise. But why is it that something so simple is so difficult to actually do? And it's the same with using your brain the right way, because it is as simple as letting go. It is as simple as giving up your stories, of listening to the voice that's going on in your head that's telling you all of these things all the time and constantly pulling you out of the present, and just say, I'm just going to drop my stories. It's as simple as that. But why don't we do it? Is because we don't understand how it works. And when we don't understand how it works, we don't give it a try, we don't really do it, and therefore we don't get any results. So therefore we don't believe that that's the way to do it. So what I spend my time doing in my work is spend more time sharing with people why it works, how as I've said before, how you're biologically designed, how nature is designed, how we biologically lived for 97% of our history, what we did right, and now what we're doing wrong. And when you start to get an understanding of that, that's when you go, this makes such total sense. I'm going to give it a try, and really give it a try. Because the problem is with these, when we say, all right, so what you're saying, Liam, is just let go. That's what you're saying, isn't it? It is, but how many of us ever let go? None of us. We all say we're letting go. Oh, yes, I'll let go. But we're looking for a sign that it's working. The slightest hint that maybe it's not going the way we expect. So we say, well, I want this goal, but I'll let go and just allow it to happen. You're not letting go. You're attached to a goal. You're attached to something. You're not completely letting go and saying, whatever happens to me, it's going to be right. So we don't let go, and that's why it doesn't work, because we don't have the understanding of what letting go really means to the point where we actually will really do it. If you think about driving a motor car, when you understand how it works, what it's designed to do and how it works, you get in and you just drive the car. I mean, you have to practice to learn how to do it, but you don't get out every second. You're not terrified sitting there wondering if it's going to get you anywhere or whether you're going to get harmed. You just know that that's the way it works. So it's the same with the brain. I could say exactly what to do, and I have said exactly what to do, but I guarantee nobody's going to do it until they develop some understanding enough to say, I can see that that's how we are designed to work. So I'll give it a try, a proper try, because it doesn't work when you stay attached. And this is why, Eastern religions, spiritual traditions talk about this releasing desire, releasing attachment. That's the path, because it's the natural biological path to coming back to allowing our natural intelligence to make our life work for us, which is what all of nature is set up to do. So I hope that answers the question.
Well, no. And here's the why. My listeners are going to say, I referred about Liam. I read about it. I agree. It probably works. I'm a believer. I just don't know how to let go. And I come right in that during my healing journey, I chose a spiritual path. And I identifying blocks that are holding us back. So you identify a block, and then you're supposed to just release it. Well, if releasing had been easy, I wouldn't even be talking about it. So, what I am asking you to do is to tell my listeners who understand everything you are telling them, but they don't know how to implement or what to implement to switch to that part of their brain.
Okay, I'll tell you it in 2 words. Stop thinking. That's it.
How does someone whose mind is so full of noise from anxiety, trauma, life, just stop thinking?
You just stop thinking. You realize this is where the understanding comes from. What is your thinking actually doing? What are you doing when you're thinking? You're telling stories to yourself. If you really listen to your thoughts, you're telling stories. You're saying, this is so upsetting. This shouldn't have happened. I'm worried about this happening. How do I work out what to do here? What do I do next? What if that happens? What do I do now? Am I getting closer to my goals? Why have all these bad things happened to me? All of these, remember I mentioned about language. Our brain is not designed to process through language, through words. We didn't do that for 97% of history. So I know this is really difficult for people to do, and particularly when we're, like I was, super stressed, my brain, I was an overthinker extraordinaire. I was trying to work out all of these things and get rid of the blockages and change my beliefs and rewire my brain and all of those things. But that's not how our brain works. And even though we find it difficult, I can't say anything other than this is how you do it. You have to learn how to do it. If you go to a guru on the mountaintop and he tells you to meditate, he will say to you, you either meditate or you don't meditate, So you have to develop, and you can start small. I know when, if people are experiencing a lot of stress in their life, it's very difficult to get away from the prison that we've created for ourselves, this cage that we're in, where we're dominated by our thoughts, by our thinking all of the time. We never are able to rest. And part of the problem is with that, no matter what we achieve in our life, we can achieve great things. And this was the same for me. I was sitting there in this mansion of a house that I just built, and I thought this was always my dream home. And here I am, I'm totally miserable because I couldn't allow myself, I wasn't in the habit of allowing myself not to have all these stories, not to have all these thinking. My thoughts were tormenting me. So the only way out is to say, I've got to stop my thoughts tormenting me. I've got to say to my thoughts, I don't want to think those thoughts anymore. And you don't need to analyze what you're actually thinking. You just need to say to yourself, I'm going to drop these stories. I'm going to try. Well, you're going to start by trying to drop the stories and just have a small experience. It might only be 1 second without thought, but you become aware when you're not thinking, you become aware that there's something else going on, that there's something different, and you start to get that experience. So it's very simple. Stop thinking. And if you can't do it, then the reality is you do know how to do it. How do I bicycle? And you ride it, and you keep falling off until you riding the bicycle easily without having to think. It's the same with not being dominated by our stories and our thoughts. When you start to become aware of this, and that's what I'm saying about understanding, when you realize that your brain is not designed to process information or process your life through language and stories, then you don't rely on it, or you start to not rely on it so much. You realize you're never going to find the solution in your thoughts. Thought. We can use thought when it's useful, not in a way where it's using us. And that's the cause of most stress and problems in people's lives, is we're stressed by all this noise that's going on in our head. So we have to start breaking the pattern. And as I say, this isn't easy to do because we've done it all our lives. but we haven't got good results all our lives either by doing it. So maybe it's the place to look.
Well, in all that you just said, meditation is one of the key ways to clear your mind, to just shut out all and to just be. That is what I was looking for. You can't just say, okay, I'm gonna turn up all those noise. No, you have to calm down, get quiet, meditate, and allow all of that beauty that you talk about to come in.
I'm sorry, the connection went very bad there. I didn't hear anything of what you said.
Yeah, okay. No.
Could you just repeat?
Yeah, my answer not is not working well. I am in Italy, and it is unsustainable. But what I said was that in all that you said, meditation is the way to get to that part of our brain that allows things to just happen. We can get rid of our noise, ego, preconceived notions, and everything else. Brilliant, totally love what you do, learn what you're teaching, and how you are changing lives. Now, in closing, what words of wisdom would you like to impart?
Well, yes, maybe it's about this. I think what I discovered is that we make life far too difficult for ourselves. Most of what happens to us, the way life is set up, is that you are designed biologically and spiritually, if you want to say that as well, because there's a whole spiritual dimension to this. We are biologically designed for things to flow well in our life. And if you don't believe me, have a look at nature and see that it's not based on struggle, it's based on flow. And look a little bit back into history, and you'll discover we weren't primitive cavemen living short, brutal lives. We were thriving. We were living these wonderful lives. So, and if you want more proof, look at your own body. Look at all of the things that are happening in your body on a moment-by-moment basis that you have no control over, but are easy, that aren't difficult. Imagine cutting your finger. You don't worry about whether the cut is going to heal. There's something else going on, some other intelligence or whatever you like to call it, that you know is just going to heal your finger. Well, it's that same intelligence that heals your finger, that heals all of nature, that we live for 97% of history, that is designed to make you have the best life possible with all of the things that you should have in your life to make it work the best. But they don't come from your thoughts. Your thinking is something that's got in the way because you get in the way when you start thinking. So we have to learn a way, and you mentioned meditation. That's certainly a way of doing it. And that's why all of the spiritual traditions teach meditation. That it's all about trying to get you out of your thoughts, trying to get you away from all these stories that are haunting you and tormenting you. They're not just doing that. They're not just making you feel miserable. They're blocking your instinctive self from doing the right things, allowing the right things to show up in your life. You're blocking yourself. So that's the key thing, is just to think maybe there's something different about us that instead of hanging on to trying to figure stuff out and make it work, maybe there is an intelligence, the same intelligence that I mentioned. Maybe I'm going to try and use that and realize that thoughts are the enemy, as all of Eastern spiritual traditions tell you. Thinking is what you need to get away from, and only use thinking when you need it, not all the time. So that's probably the main thing I'd like to say to people.
Now, the final thing, when you finally start thinking and allow it to happen, what did happen? Where are you now? What happened then? Take us through that beautiful timeline of, hey, I'm letting it happen. I'm listening and acting. What came about?
Well, it's a really strange series of what, if we didn't understand the way it works, we might call it coincidence or luck or synchronicity, rather than realizing it's the natural intelligence that works through you to make it all happen. So what really happened quite soon after that was I met this person, or I knew this person, and I got this idea, maybe I could help them in their business, doing a little bit of work in the back office. It was a retail store. So I contacted them and they said, yeah, great idea. And that's what I did. Now, I had no preconceived idea about any of these things. And then one day I was working away and I went out into the store to get a breath of fresh air. And there was a man standing there and he said, hello, Liam. And I thought, who's that? I didn't recognize him. I hadn't seen this man in 25 years, but he recognized me. And then I sort of recognized him. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, not a lot. And he said, there's an opportunity for a business that you would be great, because he knew my background in business. You could set up this business near where mine is. There's an opportunity to open a business. Why don't you do that? And I thought, that sounds a good idea, but I don't have any money. The money showed up. Within a few months, there I was in my own business again. Now, where did the money come from? I can't give you all the answers to exactly how everything happened, because that's not the point. I don't know how everything happened. You're not supposed to know how everything happened. Yeah. And then, so there I was in my own business again and off my mother's sofa making good money. And then out of the blue, I met somebody who was this amazing woman who was far different to any of the people I'd been in relationships with before. And we had this fantastic relationship. 15 years later, or 16 years later, we're still going strong. Uh-huh. And then we bought a brand new motorhome. Then we set up another business and another business. Now, how did they all happen? They just happened. And then we went to Europe from New Zealand, one-way ticket and a suitcase. And then a year after that, we bought a brand new yacht, launched a new yacht and started sailing around. It was the first of 4 yachts. Wow. So, and then we've just been traveling around ever since. And then I've been developing this business on how you use your brain, how our natural intelligence, how we're designed to be. But if somebody had asked me that, had said to me, or if I'd worked it out all those years ago, that you're going to be your best when you're traveling the world, living on a yacht with a wonderful partner, and sharing information about the brain, about natural intelligence in a way that no one else has really ever shared. If somebody had said that's what I'd be doing, I would have said that's insane. Not only because I didn't know I could do it, but I also didn't know that's what I wanted. So when you let go of this idea that you think you know what you want to be happy, amazing things show up. And this is what I work and help people with. And I often get emails from people and they say, Liam, you're not going to believe what I'm doing now. I don't need to, and it's always something that they never expected. So it's getting to that place of knowing there's something else that is designed to, your brain is designed to work in a different way to you figuring stuff out and trying to make it all happen. So things just keep, and they do keep happening for me. I mean, the yacht we have at the moment, it's a beautiful new catamaran that we launched in France 3 months ago. A year ago, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that's what I'd be doing. Yeah. So stop this idea of trying to plan for the future, figure out what you want, and just allow stuff to show up. That's the way we're designed to be. We're designed to live in this present moment without any expectation, because the expectation is stories and language. We're not designed for that. And just see what shows up and act on it, which you will if you don't have any fear and you don't have any worry about, is it the right thing? You're just going to do things naturally, and you're going to be productive, creative, and living an exciting life. And for me, it's being a nomad, living on yachts and talking to great people such as you. For other people, it's doing something else. But you're going to be doing what you're designed to do, not what you're trying to force yourself to do.
I love that. And no, that first, and what you're saying is 100% true. And the only difference between us and other people is what you said. Let go and let it happen. Get out of what you think should be and be open to what is meant to be. Thank you, Liam. I really enjoyed having you. I am personally inspired and validated that I am traveling, I am living to make fullest without apology or explanation. And it's sad that so many people choose to live a small life based in that part of our brain that will keep them from ever truly experiencing what they are meant to.
So right. Yeah, you're so right. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wish you and your partner many more years of happiness, travel, and helping others to live There go lower yes, let us
Thank
take
you.
care. Hopefully we cross paths in our travels.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope we do meet too. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Are you in Italy yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereabouts? Whereabouts in Italy?
am in Florian,
Oh, wonderful.
but came from Sardinia, where I loved giggly. I mean, it was amazing. And not sure yet where I'll go from here. And you're in Denmark.
Yes, but our yacht is in Rome at the moment, and we'll be there early September, back in Rome. So and then we're sailing. Then we're sailing south along the coast to the Amalfi Coast and further.
Oh my God! Have all of my youth wanted to go there. Oh, so.
Well, will you still be in Italy middle of September, late September?
Not too sure. I am actually have been here on the 23rd, having to Kosovo to see a healer to restore my voice. Afterward, I can be wherever, whenever.
Well, if you're coming back to Italy, and just keep in mind, and you can come sailing with us for a day or so if you like.
I don't love that. I'll call you.
I'll just see where we are, and honestly, if you'd be most welcome to come for a day, or half a day, or an hour, or something, if you like.
I don't love that. Thank you. Okay.
So do you live anywhere yourself, or you travel? Do you?
Well, but unlike you, I have only been doing now for 7 months.
Wow. Okay.
Now I am to return to the U.S. late this year when my book launches. Honestly, I don't even want to go. I want to promote my book, but I'd rather do it virtually than in person. I love my country, but I am thoroughly enjoying just going wherever, whenever.
Wherever the wind takes you, as the sailors say.
Yes. Definitely. So,
Well, that sounds exciting. Good for you. Well, do stay in touch, and if you want any, let me know about your book. I'd very happily buy it, and if you need a review anywhere or an endorsement, I'll be most happy. I'm sure it'll be great.
Oh my God. Thank you. I will keep you in mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever's perfect. But of course, we don't have any plans or goals, do we? We just, whatever's perfect's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And yeah, but lovely. For Brian, who is embarking on a similar lifestyle. Okay, I may use to corporate job that life your traveling and things coming up unexpectedly. It all sounds stressful. I go,
yeah. Well,
it is the latest stressful thing I've ever done. But again, it's all in the mindset.
Yeah.
Just taking it in, staying calm, dealing with it, and keep going.
Well, it's about trusting yourself, isn't it? And you only trust yourself when you know how you work. So, you know.
And that is why God put me on this journey
Yeah.
to learn I can do it. I am capable, and I do trust myself.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, it's brilliant. Great to meet you, and thank you so much.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Have a good one. Bye.
I would like to thank.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Transcending Trauma, the Spiritual Odyssey. If you're working to overcome trauma and would like to work with me or be a guest on my show, contact me through my website at shariroberts.org. Please hit the follow button to make sure you don't miss any episodes. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn at Shari Roberts. You can find all the links in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Shari Roberts, your host, reminding you that you're never alone. Until next time, sending you love and light.